Live again on YouTube. How you doing, YouTube? Scott Pad from Scott Pad's Comic Tricks. Joining for another little chat here. We're going to be talking. One of my favorite subjects tonight is movies, Blu-rays, DVDs, and maybe we'll even get some people in here a little bit later on. I've invited Dylan, see if he'll jump in. I know he's over on Robbie's stream finishing up. He's the stream on Killer Clowns from Outer Space. One of my favorite 80s horror flicks. I think I recently just ordered. I got the Blu-ray of that coming. So lately, been getting back into physical media, trying to find some other stuff. Primarily, I really like. I don't buy a lot of newer films, but I do buy a lot of classic TV. Of course, most of my stuff is packed away for the move, but I have quite a bit of classic television. And I try to pick up the movies I like. So a lot of genre stuff, a lot of stuff in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, especially stuff that you're not going to see streaming all that much. You're not going to go to fucking Hulu or Netflix and see a lot of stuff. But you will see, let me throw a little plug in. If you guys really like classic, B grade 70s and 80s genre, especially horror, sci-fi, that type of stuff, even some of the spaghetti western stuff of the 70s, Amazon Prime. I mean, Amazon Prime has really, really good stuff. I go up there a lot of times. Now that Netflix has kind of gone away from movies and primarily they're all either, originals or import TV shows from Sweden. Who wants to watch? I tried watching some of those shows from Sweden. I don't know. I watched that one about the killer rain. It was great for the first season. The rain comes down and kills everybody, and a group of kids are going through battling it. I think it was called Rain. I'm pretty sure it was a decent TV show. First season, second season just kind of fell apart, which is true of most Netflix shows. They kind of all go to shit in the second season. But now Amazon Prime has really picked up that mantle of a lot of good classic 70s and 80s. So if you're looking for that type of stuff, go to Amazon Prime. They have a lot of even old horror host shows. The Killer Coffee Time videos are up there, and Elvira and Mystery Science Theater stuff, and it's good stuff. So lately, I've been getting back into physical media. I did the streaming things for a while. And I have a 4K Blu-ray player. I love 4K, and I like Blu-ray. And I think we've especially found in this whole pandemic thing that's going on with Corona and stuff that they started clamping back on a lot of the bandwidth. So you'd start watching a movie and it would look beautiful, and then all of a sudden, by the time you get down by halfway through it, looks like an old VHS tape, 1985. So, Blu-ray is always going to look good. You're talking about the best audio, the best video, 4K, which looked like it was kind of on the fence, even though every TV you can buy now is a 4K TV, and now they're even coming out with 8K TVs. The format itself, because streaming is starting to pick up, we're starting to go in the shitter, and now it's kind of bouncing back. We're getting some of these obscure studios like Arrow and Kino bringing out some really good genre stuff in 4K. Like they just released Fulci's Zombie and Maniac from the 80s on 4K video. Stuff that is, really kind of obscure, but yet kind of mainstream in that genre. And now we're starting to see movies come back more in physical formats. They're starting to have a little bit of a renaissance, a little bit of a higher tick after the whole Corona stuff as people stay in and watch their libraries. So I've been looking for some deals here and there and picking up stuff from Amazon and Walmart and stuff when you can get it. So this is probably the latest stuff that I've been watching. You guys go up on my Instagram channel, you notice I post a lot of stuff up there with stuff that I've been kind of I've been kind of getting and watching. So, you'll see some of these same similar titles uh, that I'm going to show you here. I'm really a nut when it comes to the 50s, especially sci-fi, horror, and monster movies and stuff. The classic Universal monsters. I love them. Absolutely love them. So last week I started having a kind of a marathon with giant spider and bug movies. You can never have enough giant spider and fucking bug movies. Even though I got some giant spiders and bugs floating around here, you may even see them in the air a little bit. So, I started posting some of the stuff up. So one of the discs I recently got was this classic from 1976, no 77, Giant Spider Invasion. Now, this is an interesting movie because this came out the same year as Star Wars, and this movie was shot for like $300,000. Ended up being one of the top 50 grossing movies of the year in '77. Of course, everything in that year got blown away, by Star Wars. But you think about what else came out in that year. Didn't Spy Love Me, James Bond, come out in that year? And and Star Wars. And Giant Spider Invasion is a great flick. And this has Barbara Hale from Perry Mason series, Alan Alan Hale from Gilligan's Island, the skipper, is in here. Uh, Leslie Parrish, who you'll remember from a lot of Star Trek stuff that she did. She was big in the '60s. Uh, so this movie, I've seen a lot of copies of this since 1980, kicking around, and they've always looked like shit. I mean, utter garbage. This movie's from Dark Forces Superstore. I don't know, and this movie looks better than it has. Hey, Gray Man, how's it going? How's it going tonight? Let me grab something to drink here. This movie looks utterly fantastic on Blu-ray. Better than it has any right to look. Better than some new movies I've seen. This is a crystal clear new transfer of this film. And yes, this is the movie that has the giant spider basically built on a 75 VW Beetle that they push around in the movie. It's a great flick. It really is. This is one of my favorite, and not my favorite, but one of my favorite giant spider movies, The Giant Spider Invasion. This just came out a couple weeks ago on Blu-ray, if you can find it, around $20. Well worth getting, especially if it's a genre film. This, excuse me, like it says, as the brand new HD transfer. It's got some interviews on here and a music video. Excellent Giant Spider Invasion. Next, just picked this up recently. There is no better 50s sci-fi creature movie than Them from Warner Brothers. In Blu-ray, this thing looks fantastic. James Whitmore and Matt Dillon himself, James Arness, in one of his first roles, is in this excellent flick. This really is a serious, taken serious genre movie, and I love Them. It's probably on my top list of any of those 50s radioactive bug spider type videos. I just love it. Great flick. Pretty bare bones movie. Doesn't have a lot of features in it, but what it has is a great looking transfer. It's got the trailer and some behind the scenes archival footage. Them, you can pick this up under $15. Well worth it. Another one I picked up just came out from Shout Factory, The Spider, also known as Earth versus the Spider. Also another great 50s black and white bug movie. This was done by the guy who does Burt I. Gordon, who does all those giant 50s movies, The Amazing Colossal Man, War of the Colossal Beast, Attack of the Puppet People, all good classic B-grade schlock. This movie the transfer in this is fantastic. Shout Factory has done another great job putting together this package. It has audio commentaries of the filmmakers, historians. They include on most of their videos the Mystery Science Theater 3000 version. That's on here. That was a classic. The trailer and 3D gallery, Earth versus the Spider, another great 50s spider movie. And of course, you won't go anywhere without another Universal classic. Tarantula. John Agar, who was in all these flicks back then, is in this. And Tarantula also stars Leo G. Carroll, Maria Corday. Not a lot on here. This has a new commentary track, a trailer, some stills. Has a great transfer. This was, I believe, if not the first, I think it was the first or second movie with A12 Comic Talk. How you doing? Glad you could stop in here. Look at some Blu-rays, talk about some horror movies I've gotten recently. Tarantula is also has a Clint Eastwood cameo in it. I think he was also in Revenge of the Creature at this time. I think Tarantula is his first film. He's in it. Catch him at the end. Yeah, very short. Let's just say, A12 just checked you. A12 just checked your stream. Okay. Hopefully my stream is up. Very short. But I'm not sure what that means. A1. Oh, okay. Never mind. All right, so Tarantula, yeah, great. Clint Eastwood cameo in this. Great movie, Tarantula. Excellent. Now, the granddaddy, my number one, my favorite Spider movie, has that wonderful thespian actor, Bill Shatner, Kingdom of the Spiders. If no one has ever seen 1977's Kingdom of the Spider, you've got to see it. This is such a great movie. All the great acting you would expect from Bill Shatner, hamming it up. And it has that 70s vibe, back in the 70s with all the Empire of the Ant movies and, ecological disaster movies. This is one of them. Also features Altavis Davis, Sammy Davis Jr.'s wife, Tiffany Bowling, Woody Strode's in this. What a great movie. I mean, this also has one of the best endings of any 70s movie. Wasn't an upbeat ending. It was fantastic. The music in this has some great stuff. Shatner is at the top of his game here. At the top of the game. Yes, Burned Out. What else are we going here? A whole lot of insect-related films there, mate. Yes, I've been watching a lot of bug movies lately. I'm buggers for bugs movies. I'll watch an insect-related movie anytime. I did a whole week of these. I love them. Kingdom of the Spiders. You can't do better than this. Is available for under $20. It's got a new 2K scan. Audio commentary is on here. Unfortunately, not with Shatner. Probably couldn't pay the guy enough to do that. But I think there's some scenes and some stuff in here. Hope you feel more chippy soon, mate. Yeah. Same Jim one too. There you go. So Kingdom of the Spiders, one of my favorites. Back to Universal 1950s. You can't do better than The Deadly Mantis. Yes, it's about a huge, gigantic mantis that's thawed out from the prehistoric times. It's fantastic. Once again, this is another Shout Factory. You got a new 2K scan of the film, a new audio commentary, Mystery Science Theater version of this movie. Deadly Mantis is a great flick. William Hopper's in this from Perry Mason, Paul Drake. Really good. Them and Deadly Mantis. What a great double feature this is right here. Also, picked this up, another 1950s black and white, a universal creature monster movie, really unique, called The Monolith Monsters. Also from Shout Factory. Monolith Monsters was a different type of science fiction film. It's about something coming from outer space, coming down, hitting the rocks in the desert. It creates basically living rocks come down from space, and they start taking over this town. And then it's up to them to find out a way around that. And anybody who comes in contacts with these rocks, turn to stone. This is a great, unique science fiction film, different type of take on a monster. It's got new audio commentary from film historians. It's got a couple of featurettes, some still galleries. This is a great Shout Factory, Scream Factory release, The Monolith Monsters. Excellent Universal movie. I highly recommend it. Now, moving over to a couple other movies I picked up. You can't do better than Arrow. Arrow releases high def films, usually unrated versions with a lot of extras of really classic films. And of course, two of these would be, I'll buy that for $1, RoboCop. RoboCop, this is the unrated only version of the film. Was rated X at one point. Now, by today's standards, would probably get a intense R rating. But it's got a ton of extras on here. I can't even go into the amount of extras on here. A lot. The transfer on this is really nice. As I said, this is the unrated version of RoboCop. Now, Arrow has just gone ahead and started doing 4K releases. So you're going to start seeing probably a lot of these Arrow films come out in 4K. Maybe not, though, because the rights to these movies don't extend to 4K versions. So some of these might come out in 4K, other ones might not. But this has a great looking transfer. Probably the best I've seen, especially the unrated version, which has always looked not quite as good as the original version of RoboCop. I would really recommend this. I'm sure you guys have seen this movie. RoboCop, excellent movie. Now, moving on to another Arrow release, and 1985 had a lot of great horror movies. I think that's the same year the Return of the Living Dead came out. I think maybe 84, 85. This is another Arrow movie. It's the unrated version of Reanimator. Jeffrey Combs, Dan Curtis, of course, the great Barbara Crampton. Because this is the unrated version, of course, we get that the head between the legs scene that everybody remembers from this movie, and from the unrated version, a ton of extras on here, and the transfer looks phenomenal. So, Reanimator. I mean, if you have never seen this movie, it's a trip, and the unrated version even more so. I mean, it's just so classic. Jeffrey Combs, who went on from all these full moon and horror type films. I think he made 3 Reanimator flicks. Made a score from Beyond. A lot of these Lovecraft movies. Went on to do a ton of work in Star Trek. Of course, he played Wayoon in Deep Space Nine. He's played Shran in Enterprise, the Andorian. He did a host of other aliens. And I saw a thing recently that he may be even up for, even though I can't stand the latest version of Star Trek, fuck Picard. He's up for possibly Dr. Boyce in Strange New World, the Pike series that may or may not be coming out. Jeffrey Combs is a fantastic actor. Top of the game here. If you haven't seen this movie, get Reanimator. You can't do better than that. Of course, this just came out recently. Not really, nothing really too different on this, but it is the 40th anniversary. It was a steelbook. It was inexpensive, so I picked this up. You can't do better than the original Friday the 13th with a steelbook. I don't go gaga over these steel books. I like them. I won't pay a lot of extra for them, but if they're on sale and they have a good, good case, whatnot, I'll usually Herbert West. That's right. What was this? We spoke about him before. Yes. This is Friday the 13th. Don't have a lot of extras on this. I think it does have. I think this is the unrated version, possibly. I believe it is. Say. I believe it is 40th anniversary one, and they have some extras on here. Uh, but I think it's just a redo of the movie into a steel case. But you know, I think you can get this for like $14. So Friday, you can't always go wrong with the original Friday the 13th. Still one of the best movies in the franchise. Although I think Friday the 13th Part Three is pretty good as well. So here's a movie I didn't know anything about. Okay, it's 4K, although uh, you don't really need to get this in 4K. But I think it was only $8, and the Blu-ray was more expensive because it was shot. I think it's 16 millimeters, so it has that grainy look. But this is a movie called DFW. It just came out recently, and I believe this was a movie that was on Shudder or was co-sponsored by Shudder. And it's a great 80s throwback video. If you like some of those great 80s videos where you had or you like things like the Expendables where you get a lot of these old time actors together. Here we got a bunch of old time 80s actors: Stephen Lang, William Sadler, Martin Cove from the Karate Kid movies, Fred Williamson. They're together in this tale, basically pretty good exploitation type tale, where a VFW gets overrun by this street gang who's pushing drugs. They're looking for this girl who stole their haul, and they're protecting the VFW. This thing has off the wall gore, of course, because it comes from Fangoria Studios. You're going to get some of that. It's a fun movie. It's a fun throwback to those 80s and 90s, exploitation, violent movies. I enjoyed it. It goes by fairly quick. There's some featurettes on here on the making of some of the special effects, and you can get this pretty cheaply. So whether you get the 4K, not necessary, or the Blu-ray, you'll be doing okay. But I recommend it. It's a good watch. It's a fun movie. It really is. Let's see. You just watched on Netflix? Is VFW on Netflix? Okay. It's a good flick. I enjoyed it. Movie I picked up also on 4K. Everybody's got to have this movie, whether you like it or you hated it. Uh, it was cool. It was cool. It was a good movie. I enjoyed it. Some people hate this movie. Some people love this movie. Some people are different about this movie. But I remember seeing this flick at the Paramount Theater in Springfield in 70 millimeter back in the 70s when I was a kid. And it stuck with me. Really got my love of science fiction. I didn't really understand the fuck was going on with this movie. I never found it slow. I found it really enjoyable, and that's of course, Stanley Kubrick's 2001: Space Odyssey. Here it is in a 4K edition, which you can pick up for way under $20 now, and it's I think it's got a little book in here about 2001. It's got a documentary, commentary from Keir Delray and Gary Lockwood, which the stars of the movie. A lot of featurettes, audio only bonuses, and I've seen the 4K of this on iTunes. And it looks stunning. So I would imagine that the 4K disc is going to look even better. 2001: Space Odyssey still stands up today. It was really the movie that made Star Wars possible, because before that, in the 60s and the 70s, science fiction movies were pretty low key and low budget, and this just showed that you could have a serious science fiction movie. And I think without 2001, you wouldn't have had Star Wars, you wouldn't have Star Trek: The Motion Picture, you wouldn't have a lot of those movies. So, if you've never seen it, open the pod bay doors, Hal. You can also get 2010, which was a more mainstream version with Roy Scheider. Also, not a bad movie. John Lithgow. That's worth seeing, but it's not this. 2001, of course, is very Kubrickish, if that's a word. So if you enjoy science fiction, get yourself this copy under $20. Well worth picking up. Another movie that just came out recently in 4K, and this version of the movie is stunning from a visual standpoint, and certainly from an audio standpoint. If you have Dolby Atmos on your receiver, this will blow you out of the house. The movie itself, I liked it. I would give it a positive vibe, and yeah, yeah, Pod Bay Doors. That's it. Kubrick-esque, very good, Grayman. That's right. Another movie with Tom Cruise. It would be Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds. The only thing I would say negative about this movie, if I again, is man, somebody should have slapped Dakota Fanning. She is. I understand she was only probably about 10 years old. This movie, it's not her fault. That's what she was told. But she literally screams and cries the entire movie, and it almost flatlines the film for me. But the visuals are great. Um, Tom Cruise is pretty good in these movies. He's done some good, interesting sci-fi like Edge of Tomorrow, Oblivion, War of the Worlds is an interesting take on it. Obviously, this is kind of a disaster porn movie. You get to see cities and towns destroyed, but the effects are good. You're gonna get a top line movie. It looks great in 4K Ultra HD. So if you can pick it up cheap, I would recommend War of the Worlds. Now, a couple other movies that came out, I think last year. I'm a sucker for kaiju movies. I love, Godzilla flicks and Gamera flicks, and a couple movies that came out of South Korea, I believe. Was North Korea, South Korea. One would be, and these are the first time they've been available on Blu-ray in the original aspect ratio with the original language, is both English and Japanese on here. And that's a Japanese or Korean, I believe, actually. Is Yongari, Monster from the Deep. South Korea's answer, obviously, to Godzilla. This is a fun little flick. The special effects are about in line with what you would expect from a 60s creature feature type thing. I would say maybe it's one little bit step down from Godzilla, but still pretty good. Man in suit. You can't do better than Man in suit, man. I don't care what you got. I think the charm of an actor in a suit is really missing in some of the later Godzilla movies. So this has a commentary, but this is the first time it's been available, as I said, and it's a good transfer. The other one I picked up is Gappa, the Triphibian monster. What the hell is a friggin' Triphibian? Anyways, this is also known and been around for years on the late night TV circuit as Monster from a Prehistoric Planet. It was put out by AIP in some of the really horrific looking transfers. This is in the original aspect ratio with the original language and English and Gappa. It's kind of like, if you guys remember that movie Gorgo, Gray Man, right? Do you remember Gorgo, Gray Man? An English flick. Gorgo is the English Godzilla, where Gorgo was a child monster found at sea, and it was kind of brought back to civilization, put in a zoo, kind of like King Kong, and then the mama monster comes and breaks out the smaller baby monster. Filmed in England, and this is kind of like that. This is, except these are kind of bird-like creatures with a mom on us and trying to protect her offspring. So this is kind of Gorgo-esque, but Gappa, the Triphibian monster, recommended. If you guys have any Dollar General stores in your area, Dollar General has a new shipment of Blu-rays, and they have a lot of newer films, a lot of B stuff, of course. I haven't seen this. This is from Magnet. It's called Bad Milo. I've been meaning to watch this. I've seen this on some of the streaming services. Uh, this little creature here, whatever. It's a horror comedy from Magnet. It looks interesting. If you a buck, how can you go wrong for a buck? So I picked that up. If anybody might want to stay in the comments, the name is familiar, but I can't say I know it. It was made in 1963, I believe. So be that as you may, I'm old, that's when I was born. So Bad Milo, if you got a Dollar General in the area, go check this out. They got a bunch of films, and I picked that one up. Let's see. Of course, on 4K, two of the best films from Sam Raimi, and that would be the original Evil Dead from Sam Raimi, and of course the great Bruce Campbell. Uh, I've seen this in 4K on iTunes. It's looked pretty good. Of course, this was filmed in 60 millimeter. If no one's if they don't know, if not heard of Evil Dead, you haven't seen it. Evil Dead was started as a student film, and it was shot in 60 millimeter by Sam Raimi and some of his cohorts. And so, of course, when you blow this up to 4K, you're going to get a lot of film grain, but it looks great. The colors are pretty good on this. So I would pick it up. If you don't own it, it's worth getting. You can get this for under, I think, $16 now on video. It's got auto commentary by Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. I think honestly, he's probably just ported over from the Laserdisc or DVD, probably. But Evil Dead. This is a more serious horror movie than what would come after, and of course, what would come after would be the Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. So basically, a remake of the first one. This is Sam had more. He was a more established filmmaker, got a lot more money. Kind of basically refilmed the original movie. It kind of just ignores the original movie and kind of redoes it. And it's good, except now it's introduced some comedy into the mix. So it's not quite as a straight horror film, but everything in here pretty much works. So Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn. Now the final sequel, Army of Darkness, isn't having VHS. Yeah, gotta love VHS. Army of Darkness, which kind of took the comedy even more farther, is a great movie. That's not available on 4K, but I think you can still get that on Blu-ray. That would be the third movie in the franchise. Of course, they went on to do a TV show, Evil Dead, Ash versus Evil Dead. A couple more here that I picked up. And of course, everybody's seen it. Now available in 4K. Steelbook, you can get original version, but this is the blue. This is the Steelbook version from Best Buy. If you go inside, you got the great scenes from the movie. You get the 4K disc and the Blu-ray. This movie, Jaws, I tell you, I've seen this movie so many times. This is the best this movie has ever looked. The 4K, the HDR, because a lot of this is shot underwater, a lot of it's shot at night. But when you get out in daylight, that stuff really pops. It's a great looking transfer. I haven't seen this movie look so good since I saw this in the theater back in '75, and it probably looks better than when I saw it in the theater back in '75. Jaws is still a great movie. Forget about the sequels; they weren't as good. But the original, this is basically the movie that started summer blockbusters. Before Jaws, there weren't any. After Jaws, quite a few. So if you haven't seen it, or you don't, even if you own this on Blu-ray or DVD, and if you have a 4K player, this is a worthy update. And you can get this for around $20. The Steelbook, I think, is a little bit more. But I can't say anything more about Jaws. It's fantastic. And there's a lot of good extras on that. Some of it's ported over from the Blu-ray. But another one I got from Mill Creek. Mill Creek is a Blu-ray distributor that puts out a lot of. Hey, jump in, Dylan. I threw you the link, so come on in. I've been talking some of the Blu-rays and some of the DVDs I've had recently. Jump into the I'll throw the invite in if you want to come in and talk some movies. If you don't have it, it's right there for you. I think, let's see. Come on. There we go. Mill Creek puts out a lot of bargain basement stuff, but they also do a lot of new stuff on Blu-ray. This was available on DVD. And these are two Japanese films from the late 50s from Ishiro Honda. And Ishiro Honda went on to do, of course, all the Godzilla movies and Rodan and War of the Dinosaurs and stuff. But this is some of his earlier films, The H-Man and Battle in Outer Space. Now still in the original. I may not be here in 20 minutes. I may still be here, so jump in if you do. You guys are still fucking talking. I saw that was a great stream you did with Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which I think I got coming on Blu-ray. I bought the Blu-ray. I'm waiting for it to show up. And but then when you guys were done with that, you went into serial stuff, and I can't believe you're still on. You guys really going? You're going into Jigs territory there. Well, if I'm still here, you're welcome to come on. No problem. If not, watch the video. Do a rewind because I did go over some interesting films here. We'll have to get together some night, Dylan. And what I'd like to do with it, we'll have to plan a stream. Let's plan a live stream, and maybe we'll have to wait until I move because a lot of my stuff is packed up. So I'll have to wait until I unpack it and I get in a new place. But I'd love to do a stream where we can look at our video libraries and we talk about some of the films we love and what we have in our video libraries. Because I bet you, you got a lot of the same stuff I do, and I bet you got a lot better horror than I do. So I'd love to do a stream meeting sometime, look at the video libraries. So these are both in the original aspect ratio, both in, I believe, Japanese and English. And these are both decent early films from Ishiro Honda. And I think you can pick this up for about $12 for both films. You can't go wrong with that. And finally, the last movie I picked up is it's kind of a genre. Once again, it's a Sam Raimi film. It's one of my favorite Sam Raimi films. A lot of people will probably say, Spider-Man is their favorite Sam Raimi film? No. I would say Evil Dead is my favorite. Evil Dead 2, probably my favorite Sam Raimi horror movie. But my favorite Sam Raimi film is The Quick and the Dead with Sharon Stone and Gene Hackman. Really unique Western filmed in that Sam Raimi style. All the actors on the top of the game. You got, of course, Sharon Stone, who was big when this came out. Gene Hackman is fantastic, once again, playing a villain. No one does villains any better than him. If you saw him in Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven, he's kind of a similar role here. You also have Russell Crowe in this before he got big in Gladiator. You have Leonardo DiCaprio before he got big. He's excellent in this. You have Lance Henriksen's in this. He does a great part. A lot of actors that you saw in Westerns of the time. But Quick and the Dead, I would say, is one of my favorite Westerns of all time. Definitely a unique one. This is available now in 4K. I saw this on iTunes in 4K. I haven't watched this yet on video, but it's a great transfer. So if you love Westerns like I do, I love Westerns, this is one of the best modern Westerns you can get. So The Quick and the Dead, look for it on 4K, look for it on Blu-ray. And really that's about it. That's about everything I picked up in the last few months. We've been in here for about 40 minutes. I don't know if we're going to go too much longer. But yeah, I mean, physical media, I'm just enjoying the heck out of sitting down, and especially when you're in this pandemic and you're inside and you go back to some of your library. I've got a few other things. Maybe I'll show those off, but this was all the genre stuff I really had, um, and what I'm kind of watching. So, all right, well, I want to thank Grayman for stopping in, watching. Dylan, maybe we'll be able to hook up another night when you're not on the stream. So I'll probably get going here. I'm glad you guys have watched that. Leave some. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe in the bottom. Leave some comments. What are your some of your favorite Blu-ray and 4K acquisitions? Make your comments what you saw in this video for some of the movies I've shown. Whether you've seen them, whether you're interested in them. And once again, have a good night, guys. We'll catch you later. Don't don't forget, keep reading, keep on trekking, and of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't say fuck Picard. Later, guys.